the DNA that changed everything. Jessica Monroe's disappearance was haunted by rumors, theories, and suspicions. From the sheriff himself to his troubled son, the town of Maple Ridge was drowning in unanswered questions. And then a breakthrough. Buried deep inside a forgotten evidence locker, investigators found something that would rewrite everything they thought they knew. DNA that pointed directly to the Carter family. In 2021, a new cold case unit reopened Jessica's file. During a full audit of evidence, they discovered an overlooked item, a jacket collected near County Road 6 on the night Jessica vanished. Back in 1998, DNA testing was primitive. The jacket had been logged, but never fully analyzed. 2 decades later, technology had advanced, and this time the lab got a match. The DNA didn't belong to Jessica. It didn't belong to any of her friends or co-workers. It belonged to someone disturbingly close to the case. Daniel Carter, the sheriff's son. The revelation sent shockwaves through Maple Ridge. Suddenly, the whispers had substance. The theory was simple and horrifying. Jessica may have rejected Daniel Carter's advances. In a moment of rage, something went terribly wrong. Sheriff William Carter, arriving on the scene, was faced with a devastating choice: uphold the law or protect his own blood. If Turner's confession was true, Carter had spent that night cleaning up the scene, destroying evidence, and controlling the narrative, not as a sheriff, but as a father shielding his son. When the DNA results leaked, Maple Ridge erupted. Some demanded Daniel's arrest immediately. Others argued that without Jessica's body, without direct proof of murder, the case was still circumstantial. The sheriff himself refused interviews, but neighbors recalled seeing him leave his home at night, pacing the yard, his once proud figure now hollow and aged. And then came one final revelation. Investigators revealed that Jessica's last voicemail, the one she left for her sister, had background noise, faint male voice. Enhanced audio suggested she wasn't alone when she whispered, "I think someone's following me." Experts believed that voice matched Daniel Carter. The DNA evidence changed everything. It tied Daniel Carter to the night Jessica vanished. It exposed the sheriff's decades-long cover-up. But it didn't answer the most important question: where is Jessica Monroe? To this day, no body has ever been found. And until she is, the Carter family secret remains only half told. A shadow over Maple Ridge and a wound that refuses to heal. Jessica Monroe's disappearance was more than a crime. It was a wound that never healed. For over 20 years, the people of Maple Ridge, a small town where doors once went unlocked, have lived in the shadow of fear, suspicion, and betrayal. This is the story of how one unsolved mystery broke the spirit of an entire community. Town where kids rode bikes down Main Street, neighbors borrowed sugar from each other. The sheriff was a man everyone trusted. But when Jessica Monroe vanished, all of that changed. Parents began walking their children to school. Women stopped jogging after dark. For the first time in decades, locks were installed on nearly every door in town. Fear had seeped into daily life, and it never left. When DNA evidence suggested Sheriff Carter's son was linked to Jessica's case, Maple Ridge split in two. Some residents defended the Carters fiercely, refusing to believe the family they had admired could be capable of such darkness. Others turned against them, whispering accusations in grocery store aisles, avoiding eye contact at church. Longtime friendships fractured. Families stopped speaking. Even the annual town fair was canceled, organizers saying it didn't feel right celebrating when the truth was still hidden. It wasn't just Jessica who disappeared that night. Maple Ridge's trust in itself vanished with her. Every October, candlelight vigils are still held for Jessica on Main Street. Her photograph rests at the center of the crowd, her smile frozen in time. Children who weren't even born in 1998 grow up hearing her story, told as both a cautionary tale and a reminder that monsters don't always come from outside the town. Sometimes they live among you. For Maple Ridge, the unanswered questions are as terrifying as the crime itself. Was Jessica killed? Or is she out there somewhere waiting to be found? And if the Carters hold the truth, why has no one ever spoken it aloud? Jessica Monroe's disappearance was more than a cold case. It became Maple Ridge's identity, a town forever defined not by what it knows, but by what it may never learn. In the fall of 2018, a new sheriff ordered a fresh sweep of County Road 6. The stretch of forest Jessica's car was last traced near. Technology had advanced. Drones, ground-penetrating radar, and cadaver dogs gave search teams tools they didn't have in 1998. At first, the search was routine. But then, near a clearing where teenagers often gathered to drink, dogs began to bark uncontrollably. Something was buried beneath the soil. When investigators began to dig, they uncovered a box. Inside were items that made the entire search team stop cold. A necklace, identical to the one Jessica's parents swore she wore the night she vanished. A blood-stained scarf, too degraded for DNA, but eerily similar to one seen in her high school photos. And a journal, water-damaged, but with one legible line scrawled across a page. He said no one would ever find me here. The handwriting didn't match Jessica's, but someone wanted it found. The discovery reignited old suspicions. Sheriff Carter's son had once been accused of spending nights in those woods with friends. Did he bury the items to silence Jessica? Or was it Mark Reynolds, the drifter whose name kept surfacing but was never proven guilty? He had camped in the same clearing, and years later, his truck was found abandoned just miles from Maple Ridge. But the most chilling theory came from locals themselves. Some believed the evidence wasn't placed there in 1998 at all. They believed it was planted years later by someone desperate to redirect suspicion. And if that were true, who planted it? And why wait so long? The box in the woods didn't answer the town's questions. It only created new ones. Was Jessica's story hidden beneath the soil all along? Or is Maple Ridge still chasing shadows, manipulated by someone who knows exactly how to keep the truth buried? As the town mourned for Jessica Monroe's disappearance without a trace, her belongings were left behind. Her car was abandoned. Furthermore, her voice silenced. But 20 years later, a letter surfaced, and the date on it suggested something chilling. Jessica may have been alive, long after everyone thought she was gone. In early 2019, a Maple Ridge resident claimed she found an envelope inside an old library book purchased at a thrift store. The letter inside was addressed to Jessica's younger sister, Anna. The handwriting looked strikingly similar to Jessica's, and the date written at the top, November 12, 2000, more than 2 years after her disappearance. In the note, Jessica wrote, "I can't come home. He won't let me, but please believe I'm alive. I'll find a way back." The signature at the bottom read simply, Jess. Experts were brought in to analyze the handwriting. Forensic examiners confirmed it bore an uncanny resemblance to Jessica's school notes. The phrasing matched too. She always signed letters with Jess, not Jessica, but doubts remained. The paper stock was discontinued in 2005, meaning it could have been printed before then. But the ink tested newer, possibly from the early 2010s. So was it really written in 2000? Or forged years later, designed to throw investigators off track? The sheriff's office began to question who would benefit from this discovery. If Jessica truly lived beyond 1998, someone was keeping her captive. But if the letter was fake, who planted it? And why hide it in a library book, waiting for it to be discovered 2 decades later? The most unsettling theory was whispered by townsfolk themselves. What if Jessica wrote the letter under duress, forced by the very person who vanished her? The letter that shouldn't exist raised more questions than answers. Was Jessica alive in 2000? Was she held against her will? Or was the entire thing a cruel fabrication by someone determined to keep Maple Ridge haunted? Watch out for the next episode, The Suspect No One Saw Coming. Subscribe to this channel and turn on your notification bell to be notified of the next episode.